Welcome back to the $1 million Tipping Point podcast. Today we have Carden here, and I'm really excited about Ann. I say that about every guest I know. It's kind of annoying, but I am excited about Ann because she not only has, built her business, that $1 million tipping point, but she also helps others get to that point and help them build their own businesses. Very cool to have her on today. So as a reminder, we're brought to you by the Tipping Jar of Wisdom, where as a newsletter subscriber, you get access to exclusive content from these guests every Thursday straight to your inbox with actionable tasks from the guests to help you grow your business. So head over, connect with me on Instagram at virtually Kiri or LinkedIn. I'm the only Kiri Mohan, and sign up through my bio. Also, if you're looking to start or grow your business, be sure to sign up for my monthly biz growth workshops. And you can also find that in my Instagram bio. So with more than 40 years of business, marketing, sales, and management experience, Ann Carden now coaches hundreds of coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs in more than 40 different industries. She built and sold 5 successful businesses and knows what it takes to succeed in all areas of business. Today, she has a passion to help others take their success to higher levels. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Kiri. I am so excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
I think this is going to be so wonderful for our listeners because it's not just your story of how you did it. It's also you kind of giving us hopefully a mini lesson here on how to grow your business for anyone really looking to hit that over 7-figure point. So again, you sold 5 businesses. We kind of mentioned that off the air.
Yes.
Can you go into those? I saw there was like a lot to do with nutrition, health, but you also had I think, doll business.
I did. That was my very first business. Oh my gosh, I know. A bit crazy story with that, but I'll talk about that if you want me to.
I do. I'm very interested in people's journeys because I mean, how did you go from dolls to health clubs and nutrition and fitness to now being a coach that helps other people build successful businesses? It's such a journey and everyone is so different. I think that people can relate to different parts of the story.
Sounds great. Well, I started when I left corporate. I'd been in corporate business management for about 13 years. I was running multi-million-dollar departments in a multi-billion-dollar retail company.
Are you allowed to say which retail company? Because I couldn't find that online.
Well, it's not even around anymore. Oh. So it was in California. They were Broadway stores. I don't know if you've ever heard of Broadway stores, Weinstock. So they were very comparable to like a Nordstrom's or a Macy's. And so I worked for them for many years. Before that, I worked for other companies out of St. Louis. So anyway, so all said, it was a 13-year career, and I had kids, and I decided that, retail management is a grind and the hours are horrendous. You don't have much of a life. And so to try to be a mom is very difficult, to be in any kind of a position. If I would have just been an employee, it would have been different, but I was a salaried manager. So it was very difficult to do that. So I made the decision I was going to leave that career and be a stay-at-home mom. And we moved from California to the Midwest, and we moved to the country. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity. And this was something my husband really wanted to do. We wanted to kind of get back to our roots, but the math didn't work with my husband's paycheck. So that was problem number one. We were just really struggling financially, and I just could not squeeze another dime out of his check. We had one car at the time because he gave back a company vehicle when we moved from California back to the Midwest. So long story with all of that, but I just couldn't squeeze any more money from his check. And it was the most stressful financial time I had ever had in my whole life. And so I started looking for a way to make money. And I was very creative. And at that time, the craft industry was sort of exploding across the country. And I had a box of stuff that I'd kind of, did some creative stuff with. I always used it as a stressor, but I also did it to fix up my son's nursery. And, so I was always doing little creative things. But I thought, well, I wonder if I can turn this box of stuff, which was worth about $15, into something. And there's a little store in town, and I can see if I can sell some things in there and just make a little bit of extra money. So after a couple of weeks, I took in these towel rack things, these towel I don't even know what they are anymore. They were like decorative towel things. Took them in there and asked her if she would put them in there on consignment. And she was willing to do it, of course. And she said, but I'm not sure this is quite what people are really interested in or buying right now. So after about 2 weeks of nothing selling, I went back in and I said, okay, what are they buying? And she said, they're buying these rabbit dolls. And she showed me these dolls. And I thought, a rabbit doll? I have no idea how to make a rabbit doll. I don't even own a sewing machine. I don't know what I'm going to do here. So I borrowed my mom's sewing machine. And I went and I searched all types of patterns and looked at all types of dolls, and I started just like curating ideas, and I created my own doll. So I designed my own doll, took it in. I took a couple of them in, and she just loved them. And she goes, oh my gosh, these are going to fly off the shelf. And they did. And as time went on, long story. So as time went on, I created all kinds of different animal dolls, and I created a line. There was some material that came out that was around Noah's Ark. And I thought, a Noah's Ark line, I could do all different kinds of animal dolls, right? I could do lions and tigers and giraffes. And that's what I did. And it just blew my business up. They ended up on the cover of an international magazine. I was shipping all over the world. I was employing other moms, which was great for them because I was helping other moms, fund their families and help their families. And I was basically running a manufacturing company out of my home. And I did that for 7 years. And I did craft shows, and I was also in shows in different stores across the country with my designs. And, many of them were numbered and signed. That kind of came about as people were collecting them. I didn't know they were collecting until I got a call from a lady from Iceland one day, and she said, I just want you to know your dolls are just so precious to me. My husband's in the military and we travel, and I look forward to the next ones that you have come out. And that's kind of when I decided I was going to start signing and numbering them. So it was quite the journey. Eventually
I do have one question. I'm so curious about, you talk about the success with the dolls. I'm wondering, did your salary end up surpassing your husband's, his paycheck? Yes. Okay.
So I was making it over a 6-figure income. That was 33 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was like late 80s, early 90s?
It was in the early 90s. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, so it did well. And he got to where he was even supporting the business. When I would go to craft shows, he would go with me and help me set up. He didn't stay with me or anything. He would watch the kids. But, the great thing about that is I was able to do that. And I was also not only able to help my family, but I was also able to be a mom to my kids. So I didn't have to miss school events, and I didn't have to, I was able to really be part of their life. But it was not easy. It was so hard. I mean, I think about the 3 a.m. mornings, getting up and making dolls. And then when they got to the point where they were in school, I would work all day, but then if they had, any kind of school activities or anything like that they were doing, I had to be present for those. I was a room mom. So I did all of that stuff, but I was up early in the morning, late at night, doing all the things to keep that business going and growing and keep it being successful. And then the market started kind of turning with finished products, and a lot of people were outsourcing to China, and it was getting to the point where you almost couldn't make the dolls as for the same amount of money that they could buy them. And so it got to where, like anything, the market shifted. So I went into patterns at that point, and I hooked up with a pattern company, and I sold my patterns. And that was a whole nother revenue stream for a long time. And then when I finally sold that first business, I was ready to get out. I didn't love the pattern piece of it. That just wasn't what I loved. To me, that wasn't creative. It's like you do the pattern one time, you print it off, you package them, you do all of that. And I just didn't love it. So I sold out to the pattern company, and they took over my designs, and I had gained 50 pounds in the process. And that is what took me into the health and wellness industry and into fitness. I started working out and taking care of myself. I was really at a crossroads in my life, and I was like, what am I going to do now? This is all gone. I've been doing this for 7 years. My kids
That's
were,
what I was going to ask you, was like,
yes,
what was your going through your head right then? Like, what do I do? What do I do
I
with my
was a
life?
bit depressed.
Yeah.
I'm not going, I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit depressing because I had worked so hard for 7 years with all of that. I was ready to get out. It wasn't that. I just didn't know what my next thing was going to be. And we still lived in the country. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me to really, I would have had to travel into the city. Well, my kids were getting in sports, and like all kids as they're growing up, and we were involved in other activities. So I didn't want to go back into retail. I wasn't looking to do that. And so I started thinking, okay, well, the only thing I really have control over here is taking care of myself. So I'm going to get this weight off. I'm going to do what I have to do. Well, in the process, I started falling in love with fitness and nutrition. And so then I decided to get certifications and study it. Of course, at that time, you had to order materials. We didn't have everything at our fingertips. And so, I had this, huge $1,000 course that came to my house, big old binders. I think I still have them, actually, big old books and binders. And I had to study and do all this testing. And, we just didn't have the same things that we have today. So back then it was like going back to school. And I went to the way I got that started, and I got certified in, aerobics. At the time it was called aerobics. So that's really aging me here. But at the time, I went to my kids' back to school barbecue, and I handed out flyers and asked the moms if they wanted to take fitness classes with me. I found a community hall, and I started teaching classes there. I had a lot of moms that said, yeah, we'll do it. And so long story short, that grew into 2 health clubs. That went on to keep expanding until it was a very large 16,000 square foot health club with an indoor track and a spa, and it was still in a small town, but then I added a weight loss center. And then during the 2008 recession, I opened 2 more businesses in another location. So I was running 4 at one time, and then eventually sold the 2, still had the 2. And I hired my first coach when I was in my last 2 businesses. And I couldn't get those 2 businesses above break even. I was in a new market. It wasn't that I didn't know how to run businesses. I did. I was very successful with that, but I couldn't get the marketing right in that area. And I was racking up credit card debt and doing all of that. And finally hired my first coach. She showed me the missing piece in my marketing, and it just set me on a whole nother course of, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing ever. I actually have control over this with my marketing. And because
what was that missing piece? What was it?
It was that, let me think. It was literally that I wasn't aligning what we were trying to do in my business with the right market. So we weren't marketing in the right places. The message was off. It's so funny, all the things I teach people now, but it was the thing that was stopping my success. And it wasn't what I was doing inside my business. It literally was just that marketing piece. Like I was marketing in the wrong places. We were a high-end club. Well, I was marketing it wasn't a penny saver, but it was, a discounted kind of magazine for the community. Well, that's not the right place if you're trying to draw the most high-end members and clients. And we were more of a training club in that new location. And so just everything was just not working. It was off. And once she set me on the right course, I became just so hungry to learn about marketing. And I could close sales already. I'd done that for years. I could run businesses, but I needed that marketing piece. And once I learned that, I just continued to just grow myself and grow everything that I knew. And I knew, and before long, I was having business owners in the community and the people I was networking with ask me, how'd you sell all these businesses? How'd you do this? How do you do that? And I knew that was just my next thing. And I started helping them. And I was getting them mind-blowing results. Like I wasn't even really sure if I could help them, even though I knew what I was doing. I mean, even my first few clients, mind-blowing results. And I thought, this is my next calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. And that was, oh gosh, going on 13 years. Yeah.
What do you think that is that you have, right? Where you're just able to jump in and not be afraid? It seemed, I mean, you were talking about a little bit about like that, depression you had, like, what am I going to do next? But you still were able to say, oh, I love this. Oh, I think I'll just make a business out of it. And I think some people like don't have that, right? They just honestly don't. They, for whatever reason, it holds them back, that fear. So what advice do you have for people to get that mindset to be like, just do it and figure it out later?
I really feel like it just has to be a decision. You have to be committed to what you're doing. And for me, with everything I was doing, even though I didn't have the whole big picture, I had no idea where those things would go, where those businesses would go. And I did a lot of bootstrapping along the way and figuring it out, because we didn't have access to coaches and that what we have access to today, which is also why I'm super passionate about what I do, because I want to help people fast track. I want to help them avoid a lot of the mistakes and the pitfalls that I had. And a coach today, the right coach, can be a shortcut and literally can cut years and years off of what you are doing to speed the results. And so that's why I'm really passionate about it. But I think it really comes down to just really believing in what you're doing and being committed. I'm not a quitter. I never have been. When things get hard, I don't quit. And that's just something that I have built up inside of me. And I believe too, that risk, if you're not willing to take risk in business, don't get in business. I mean, that's just a fact. Because taking risk is very much like a muscle that you build. The more you do it, the less of a big deal it is. Not that things don't get scary. It's just, you don't let them stop you. I mean, I do things all the time that I'm like, this is a bit scary. You can feel it in your body. You can feel it in your nervous system, but I don't let that stop me. If I truly feel like it's the right thing I should be doing, I go all in, and I go all in hard. So I think it's a characteristic that people either don't do enough to develop it, or they don't realize that they need to do that. They don't realize, they think it's easy, or I don't know.
I think it is that developing it almost, because once you take that first risk and you have that first success, okay, so I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like if you take a risk and then you meet some success, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. It's like when you get off that roller coaster and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do another roller coaster, and maybe that one will make me throw up, or maybe not. Right.
But what if it doesn't work? And that's the thing. A lot of people want to quit or give up, or they're like, oh my gosh. And so you can't be that way. I always say there's a solution to everything. So if something doesn't work quite the way you want it to work, then there is a better alternative. There's a better solution. You may have to get help to figure out what that is. But there are solutions to everything. If other people can do it, you can do it too. It's just a matter of who will, who won't. That's the way I feel about it. Mm-hmm. And who will do what they need to do to make it happen. And a lot of people won't.
So you've been basically coaching and helping clients for 13 years. Tell us a little bit more about that and what you offer.
Yes. So I started working with small business owners because I already knew many of them from building my other businesses. And I worked with them for several years, and I was part of a coaching organization, and they had all the bells and whistles and everything that you should have to become a successful business coach, except that most of the coaches were not successful. And I had found a way to be successful, but I had also kept investing in other things to keep learning. And I didn't just do their thing because it wasn't working really well for me. And so I started looking for why isn't this working? I'm bringing in the wrong clients. The fees are too low. I'm not getting my business above this certain point. I knew I was good at what I did. Just the way I was taught to build my business and all the things I was seeing in the industry really just were not working. And so at one point, I think one of the questions is, did you almost quit? I did almost quit my coaching business. The first business I almost quit because I was so frustrated with the industry. But I was part of this organization. They kept promoting me. They had these weekly calls with the coaches, and they kept, and we were reporting our successes and things like that, but they kept promoting me. And I had a lot of coaches coming to me to see if I could help them. And it got to the point where I was almost building their business. And I said, I think I need to step into working with coaches and consultants. I actually do still have small business clients that have been with me for years. So I still coach them. I just don't market to them. I don't target them. And so now I work primarily with coaches and consultants, people building a coaching and consulting business, because I want to help them avoid a lot of the mistakes and frustrations that are out there in the industry and show them a better way. So.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, but let me start over. How do you then market, or maybe I should say, how do you guarantee success for them reaching 1 to 5 million plus businesses? Maybe you can't share that, but how, that you market it and it's very enticing, right?
Yes. So you were probably looking at my small business site. So for coaches and consultants, I basically say I can help you build a $500,000 to $1 million or beyond business.
I saw that and I was trying to figure out, okay.
Yeah, so I have two sides.
Different. Okay.
I have two sides. So that was probably, so for coaches and consultants, I really help them if they want to get to that $1 million, but I have a very different model from what most people are out there teaching. So I work with coaches who want to build a really high-end premium business. So they can get to $1 million, like 500,000 or $1 million with really high-end clients. And I say a handful of clients. So for example, a lot of the coaches and consultants that I work with, they're selling 50K packages, 25K packages, 100K packages, much, much bigger packages. So if you do the math, it's a much, it's easier to get to that $500,000 or that $1 million mark. And so the reason I do that is because I don't enjoy the volume method, the little courses, I did all of that, bringing in clients low, ascending them up. I did all of that stuff. In fact, most of the coaches and consultants that I work with that have been in their business for any length of time, they have also gone down those multiple roads that I went down, and they are frustrated too because their business isn't hitting the levels that they want. And so I teach a top-down approach. It's like you start with your really high premium and then your next level, and even the low tier offers that my clients have, if they're bringing in a new client, their minimum in cash that they take in might be $5,000, $7,500, $10,000 in cash. That's the minimum they would take in
minimum a month, a year.
No, when they first bring on a client. So what happens? So for example, a lot of business coaches, let's say they're going to sell a $12,000 program. And it's going to be a year long. They'll break that up over 12 months. I teach a very different model. First of all, I would have them raise that, double that, triple that, maybe even 5 times that. And then what I help them do is bring clients in higher on the front end. There's a process to that, to get them quick wins or get them fast results on the front end so they can charge a lot more. So we add value on the front end. So when they are bringing in a new client, like a lot of my clients, I have a client, for example, his rock bottom offer is an assessment in a company and it's $30,000, and that's cash. That's before, excuse me. So sorry about that. That's before he even signs them up for anything on the back end. So this is a model that I teach. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
No, it's okay. We can take a little break.
Okay.
I'll tell Ross to cut it out.
I was doing pretty good. I'm like,
you were. I was really surprised.
Now it's starting to fall apart. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay, so I help them bring in clients higher on the front end so that they're getting more cash flow and they're getting bigger cash injections. And then I help them keep them on the back end so that they build up that recurring. So it's a very different model. And most of my clients work with their clients longer. So one of the problems in the coaching and consulting space, and one of the reasons I wrote my Expert in You book about building a business, is because in coaching and consulting, is because everyone is out there doing cookie cutter kind of approaches, and they are teaching quick programs, rinse and repeat kind of programs. Nothing wrong with that. But here's part of the problem. A lot of coaches get into the industry and they buy this thing and they're in it for 8 weeks, and then it doesn't give them everything they need. So then they go and look for the next thing. And then sometimes what they already did gets undone by the next person, and it goes on and on. They're piecemealing their business together. And I don't believe in that model. I believe one of the frustrations I had when I came into this industry was that I did that. I sold an 8-week program, and then I was sending those people, they'd get results and they would close high-end clients and they would be all excited. And then I would send them on their way to go look for the next thing, because I was not offering the A to Z approach. And it was very unfulfilling for me, because I knew I could do more with them. I knew I could help them grow their business and go to whatever levels they chose. I knew how to do that. And so I switched my model. I even worked with a coach who told me, you'll never get coaches and consultants to sign on for 12 months. It will never happen. You won't do it.
And you were like, watch me. No.
Well, I couldn't. I mean, I was shocked that I was told that by this coach I hired. And I was already doing it with small business owners. And so I really believed it was shifting their mindset, and also for me to set my boundaries and say, if you're not interested in really building your business, I'm not the right coach for you. I'm not the right person for you. So I had to set that boundary. Now, I do have 8-week programs. I have VIP days. I have short little things, but I have to look at what their needs are, and is that the right fit for them? If they just need one thing and we can do that in a few weeks or a month or whatever, then I'm fine with that. I absolutely will do that if they're just stuck somewhere. But for most people, they need that ongoing support and guidance and even strategies, because the strategies that they use to get them to the first 6 figures is not going to get them to 7. And so, and so if you're out there looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, there's just nothing is cohesive, and you don't have the right structure in your business. So I set the boundary and I said, I'm not doing it. So if people come to me and excuse me, they're not willing to invest and they're not willing to put forth the effort to grow a real business, they're just not for me. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So do you have a team currently?
I operate with a very small team because I have a very streamlined business, and I teach my clients to do the very same thing. I am not someone who wants to be in consistent hustle and grind. I do not want to be, selling loads of courses and always doing all of that stuff and always marketing all of that stuff to maybe make a little bit of money. That just isn't the business I want. And I've sold a lot of businesses, so financially we are set. This isn't something that I have to be doing. So if I don't love it, I'm not going to do it. But I teach my owners to have a very simplified model so that they can run with a small team. These are the strategies you need to have, and this is the team you need to have in place. And of course, they can grow that or do more with that if they choose to, but they don't have to. I have a very successful business with a very small team. And so that's just the model that I love to teach.
How many people do you have on your team then?
So I have a team that runs my podcast, does my podcast stuff for me. I have an executive assistant who's really my right-hand person. And then I've got a couple of VAs that do marketing for me. That's it.
Wow, that's good. And so it's mostly contractors then, no employees, or do you have employees?
So my executive assistant is an employee.
Okay.
She's an employee of my company. Yes.
When did you hit your first $1 million? Did you sell your first business for $1 million? Tell us about that first time that you hit $1 million.
No, I think it was, oh my gosh, I hit $1 million when I was in my businesses. So back then when I had my doll business, I didn't really track that the same way that I would now. but it was when I was running my fitness clubs was when I hit my first million. In fact, I had one program that made, just that one program that was only a couple $100 made over $1 million in just that one thing. I was always, one of the things that I learned early on and that I've always done in all my businesses, and I've even helped people do it, is work sort of with a top-down approach. Like, where can you make the most money? What's the most profitable? And let's market the heck out of that and bring in more money. So many people go down, they kind of think that the easier path is to sell things low. A good example of this is I was working with an IT consultant at one time, and he had clients, one or two clients that he was making $10,000 a month on with them, but yet he was out there marketing a $55, we'll fix your computer, keep stuff on your computer, $55 a month thing. Well, nothing wrong with that. That's a great sustainable model, but why not go after the big client, right? Why not get more of those? And so I've always known that, and I've always done that in my businesses. I knew very early on in that first fitness business, gosh, I'm not going to get really far here at $36 a month for a membership when we're in a small town. I need to find a way to ramp this up and make more and help people at the same time. So it's always an integrity, but how can I get paid a lot more money for what I'm doing? And that's when I added the nutrition piece, and then I created a program around it. And so, yeah, that one program alone, when I first started that, it was only $125 a month. Then over time, it kind of went to $200, but that program alone made me well over $1 million. So, were
you shocked when that happened though? Or was it like, were you like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm hitting over $1 million? Or was it something that you always planned to do? Or did it just come organically?
No, I did not have the same ideas in my business. I always, in every one of my businesses, I always work to grow them, and I work to be the very best that I could be in those businesses. And so, and I never was someone that said, oh, okay, good, I hit this level and now I want to stop. I've never been that way. And when we were growing my fitness business, for example, I knew there was opportunity for that to maybe even be sold for a retirement. So, as I started thinking about retirement and things like a nest egg, right? So that's really sort of when my mindset started to shift around, okay, I want more from this. I don't want to just make an income. And I think too many people, Kiri, think like, I just want to make an income. I see that with coaches and consultants all the time. They're like, I don't have any desire. I mean, the hardest part about being in the coaching and consulting space and helping other coaches and consultants is it's a small amount of people that even want to build $1 million business. So think about that. Most of them don't have the desire. It isn't about helping them be able to get there or knowing how to help them get there. It's that the desire is not there with a lot of people. And so
what is their desire? Just to, have that income, be able to have a flexible schedule?
Six figures. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In my market where I am, a lot of it is like the flexibility. I just want to work from home and
that too,
and be able to go to my kids' events. And it's like,
yep. There's a lot of that too.
Pretty much like 6 figures too. It's like, I'd like to bring in 6 figures.
Yeah.
But only work 15 hours a week and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They only want to make some money. I mean, that's it. I just want an income. I want the freedom. I mean, to me, it kind of reminds me of when I started that first business, when I really just wanted, to make some money for my family. So kind of the same type of mindset, until I saw what was possible with business. And I learned that business builds wealth. And that was a real shift as well, because when I learned what was possible within business and the wealth that it could build, I want to expand other people's minds to realize that they could be doing that as well. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Now, I will say I have a very different idea about what I want to do with my business. So before, I was always building with the intention to sell. I'm not as concerned with that in my coaching business at this point, because I really do this. It's a passion and I love it and I make good money doing it. So I don't really care when I decide to exit, but I might, I am thinking there's other things I might build up. And to be able to sell, but it's not an important thing for me anymore, but it's just because of where I am in my life. So, but for other people, I want to show them how they can, build something to sell, how they can build wealth, even if they just build their wealth doing what they're doing and they invest. Those are all things that if people expand their mindset to what's possible, I just believe that it's limitless to what you can accomplish and what you can do. I mean, money's everywhere. There's an abundance of money, right? It's just who wants it and who's going to get it. That's just the reality.
So speaking of money, how do you balance making money and spending money in your business now, maybe past ones, and also what's been your worst and best investment?
Oh gosh, I've made a lot of, I guess here's the thing. I don't think there's ever a bad investment. And the reason for that is because even if it's not something that you thought it was going to be, or, I've hired some coaches where I ended up coaching them. I knew more than they did. They were good marketers, but they weren't necessarily great coaches. But the thing is, I always still learned something, and I always still had takeaways, even if this is how I don't want to be, or this is what I don't want to do. So I never believe that when you're investing to grow, that there's a bad investment. And I think a lot of people look at it that way. And I don't, because everything I do moves me another step to where I want to go. And so I always look at it. It's part of it. It's just part of it. You don't get to keep all the money you make if you're going to grow a business. So get over it. I mean, that's just the reality. A certain amount has to go back in.
And what is your best investment been?
I would say when I was running my other businesses and I expanded into opening more, I actually did that in the recession. So a lot of people were shutting down, and I made the decision to expand into that other market. So I would say that was a really good investment. Also growing my club, when we moved from, it was like 2,000 square feet to 16,000, over 16,000 square feet. That was a great investment too. It was very scary. We put everything on the line. We put our home on the line, everything to make that expansion happen. But it paid off in the end because of what I was able to sell all those businesses for. And so that was great. As far as my coaching and consulting, there has not been one investment that's been the best, because I did the piecemealing thing, and I couldn't find anyone that really I felt could really help me with everything that I needed. I didn't find that person, which is why I'm super passionate about being that person. Most of the coaches and consultants I came across in the industry only knew one way to do something. So if I didn't fit that way, nobody really looked at my expertise, my background, my knowledge, my skills. No one did any of that. I never worked with a coach, and I worked with many, many, many of them, but nobody could really look at my value and everything that I could bring. And when I say my value, I'm talking about value to the market, my knowledge. No one could help me package that and how to really build the business around it. I had to figure all of that out through just lots and lots of investing. Hundreds of thousands of dollars I've invested in just learning how to become a coach and a consultant in this industry. And it's through a lot of things that I created my process. It's through a lot of things that I now, am that A to Z person for my clients, because I can look at the value that they can bring to the market, and I can help them package, market, and sell that in ways they never dreamed of. Taking for example, a mindset coach that was selling a 90-day program for $1,797, and now she gets $40,000 and $50,000 clients. I mean, that is life-changing for people. Taking someone who was selling something for $3,500, a same thing, and cutting their prices to get clients, to closing within a week and a half that we started working together, closing her first $50,000 client.
So do you have success with every single client? Can you say that, or do you say like it only depends on XYZ?
It depends on the place that they are, and if they're committed to do the work. If they are committed to do the work, it's very rare that I don't get success unless they don't do what they need to do. But that being said, some people are faster than others. So there's a lot of people I've helped get really, really fast results, just out of the gate, because they were in the place in their business where I could just see what needed to be changed and shifted and all of that. So sometimes very fast, but again, I'm also very selective about the clients I bring in, because I only work with so many clients. So you were asking me too about my programs. I have high level masterminds, and I do one-to-one private coaching, and that is my model. That's my model, but I run several masterminds. But I've helped somebody go from 0 to $1 million in a year, which.
So you do take people on who are beginners, I would say, or just starting out?
Yes and no. So here was the thing. He had already owned businesses, so he had skill sets, but he had a new business that he was struggling to get launched, and he had been trying for 6 or 8 months and had racked up a lot of debt. He was a referral from a past client. And when I looked at his marketing, I looked at his positioning, I looked at his packaging, I looked at everything he was doing. He was trying to actually launch a machine in the US. And I said, okay, first of all, this isn't enough money to really get you to $1 million. So we've got to shift that. But we shifted everything. And in 90 days, about 90 days, he had already exploded his business. And he went on to he added a small sales team in a few different states. And his business was not virtual. We didn't do it virtually at that time, because this has been a while, but he went on to, add small sales teams and blew that up to almost $1 million in his first year. But he already came with business knowledge. I didn't have to work on his mindset at all. I didn't have to tell him to go all in. In fact, when I started working with him, he said, Ann, I have 90 days or I'm going to have to go get a job. So if you can't turn me around in 90 days, but is that the case with everyone? No. I mean, to be completely transparent, I've worked with clients that I just could never get them going. They just they just wouldn't do it. They wouldn't put in the work. So the one thing that I have refined over time is that I really want to work with people that are in business or they're professional coaches. I either move them into corporate or I move them into the business sector, because that is where I feel like my sweet spot is. And that's where I know the big money is for them. So if they have the type of business, if they're a business coach, if they've got a lot of business experience, or if they're coming with expertise, those would be my startups. So maybe they've been very much like me. They had successful businesses. They've really honed their skills and their expertise. I can help them package, market, and sell their brilliance so that they can build a coaching and consulting, another revenue stream, or it can become their next thing. So those are the startups that I work with. Otherwise, I like to work with people that are in scale mode, but they want to level up and they really want to go higher. If people are looking to do a little bitty course or something like that, there's plenty of people out there to help them. I don't work with them. They have to want to go up. So, yeah.
Tell me about a time you made a mistake while growing your own business or businesses, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, mistakes. Not learning about marketing was a mistake, because I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars through the years. But at that time, again, it wasn't at my fingertips. I didn't have my laptop. I could just open up. And so, not understanding what you need to be doing either. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? But I would say, not investing to be better in marketing as I realized I'm not very good in marketing. I don't do very well with this, not making that investment. I would say that's probably been my biggest mistake and the thing that has held me back the most. I think a couple of other mistakes I made, though, is hiring marketers to market, especially in my coaching and consulting business, hiring marketers to market my business without really having the process dialed in. So thinking that they were the answer to bring in more clients, those have been bad investments as well. I mean, I learned from them, obviously, again, but those investments have never paid off. And I even teach people, until you know how to bring in clients and you have your right messaging down and you know exactly what you're doing, don't throw money at marketers and think that they'll do a better job for you, because they will not. So those have probably been the worst mistakes I've made.
How do you plan to grow your business now? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, so my plan is I actually have partnered with someone this year or just recently, and we're going to be doing a 100K mastermind. So we are going to be working with some very top level, high end people so the investment will be 100K. So that's something very new for me this year. And then the other thing is I really just want to continue doing what I'm doing. And then I never quit learning. So I'm always still learning from other people. And I'm always looking for the person that I think can teach me not only things that I can do differently, but also how I can help my clients in a better way. But I really just want to, add a few more masterminds, and that be my entire business model. But one of the things I didn't mention with my high level masterminds is I also run really high end retreats. That is probably the other thing. I love high end retreats. And I rent a celebrity mansion, and I bring in private chefs, and we do it's just the most amazing experience. And then I teach and I coach them, and it's an intensive. I really pour into them. My clients get to come to that when they're in the right place in their business and they're in the program that includes that. So that is something I think I would love to ramp up too, and run those not just for my clients, but also offer more of those where I really train and pour into people, and they're just so much fun. And we do fun stuff like we zip line. This next one that's coming up in May, we're going to be in Phoenix in a mansion, and we're going to do a hot air balloon ride. So we always do just amazing things. And so it is, other people can attend. Of course, they're not inexpensive, but they're all inclusive except travel. And this next one is how to, it's really your $250,000 to $1 million plan. So the whole 4 nights, 3 days is going to be working on that $1 million plan to map it out, to, get all the pieces in place, and then have my help and my coaching, and then we'll do all the fun stuff too. So I would love to ramp those up because they're so much fun. I'm doing 2 a year right now. I would love to do 1 a quarter. So yeah, I think
I want one day. I want to attend a retreat right now. As you know, my little one's a little,
right?
So I'm not ready yet, but I do want to attend a retreat and get so much from it because they sound wonderful. What advice do you have for other women as they grow their business and want to hit that $1 million tipping point?
Realize that it's not easy. It is not easy. And you have to make sure that you are willing to invest to get where you want to go, and you're willing to always be seeking the next thing. There's no magic. I think a lot of people think there's a magic bullet. There is not. It's a whole lot of things that go into getting a business to that place, but also you have to make sure that you're building in the infrastructure, the systems, the processes. Of course, I run a simplified model, so it's not as hard to do that. A lot of people have more complex models, but if you don't do that, your business will fall apart. I have worked with a lot of multi-million-dollar companies that were just falling apart because they didn't have the infrastructure in place. So you've got to realize, and the other thing is, Kiri, it's a process. There's no magic. It's not. So many people, they throw around, I want to hit $1 million. I want to hit $1 million. And they're not even doing the work to hit half of that. And so there's no magic to it. The other thing I would say be careful of is where people are teaching a strategy, not how to build a business. Because a good example of this, build a Facebook group, make all your money in a Facebook group. That's a strategy. That's not a business. If anything happened to Facebook, would you know how to go out and build a business? For me, I would. I've done it all different ways. I'm not a one-trick pony. So be careful of one-trick pony coaches. And so those are the things that I would say that were frustrating for me, and also why I believe a lot of people are held back in the industry.
Have you faced any hurdles specifically as a woman growing and building your businesses?
No, not that I really not that I really can think of. I know, in fact, I've worked with probably as many men as I have worked with women, and they've had great success. The only thing I would say, there is a difference in how you interact with men. So they have bigger egos a lot of times. And so you do have to understand how to work with that. But other than that, no, for me, it hasn't made any difference really at all.
Tell us where we can find you, your website, your book, anything you want to share, your podcast.
Yes. So all of my brand is Expert in You. So my podcast is Expert in You. My book is Expert in You. But you can find me on all over social media. You can even Google me and then go choose where you want to find me. But if you want to book a call, you want some help building an ultra high-end business, you can go to acarden.com and book a call with me, or you can connect with me, or I always have a workshop coming up. So you can go to expertinyouworkshop.com and see what my next upcoming workshop is. And that's how I bring in a lot of clients. So
we'll make sure to have that in the show notes. Thank you.
Thank
What
you.
is one philosophy, mantra, or quote that you try to run your business by?
Besides always have integrity, because that's a big issue. That's a big thing. Always have integrity. Actually, I would say it's 3 things in one. Never quit raising your bar, your own personal bar. Always have integrity, and always give back.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
writing it down in case you can't tell. All right. Well, thank you so much for this discussion. It's been wonderful, and I hope our listeners get a lot out of it. It's been fascinating to learn about your life and all the different areas that you've been in with business. I mean, you've started from making dolls and Noah's Ark dolls to, health and fitness, and now to coaching and consulting. It's so fascinating. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.